Rosie Harrison's coffee had gone cold an hour ago. Outside the Pinewood Cafe, December snow fell like ash through the darkness, burying Ridgewood, Montana in a hush of white silence. 43. Her blind date was 43 minutes late. Her hand reached for her coat. 47 failed attempts at normalcy, and tonight would be 48. She should have known better than to hope. The cafe door swung open with a blast of frigid air. Not a man, but a dog. Massive, black-furred German shepherd. Snow dusting his coat, a red collar stark against the white. The entire cafe fell silent as he walked with uncanny purpose straight to her table, sat, and stared with knowing amber eyes. A folded note tied carefully to his collar. Trembling, Rosie unfolded the paper, revealing childish handwriting. Dear Miss Rosie, Daddy is very, very sorry he is late. Her breath caught. This dog, this impossibly intelligent creature, was about to change everything if only she chose to stay. Rosie Harrison hadn't believed in signs for 5 years. At 32, loneliness had become as inevitable as traffic or taxes, suffocating, permanent. Her veterinary clinic, Wilderness Paws, perched in the Montana mountains, drew injured animals with far more consistency than humans. This morning, the bank had called. Foreclosure. 30 days to produce $87,000. Or lose everything. The clinic, the cabin her father, Robert Emerson, had left her, the last threads connecting her to family. She had inherited more than property. She had inherited his debts, his dedication to saving creatures others abandoned, and the terrible knowledge that sometimes love wasn't enough to keep people alive. 5 years ago, she'd lost a pregnancy at 5 months. Her fiancé had left within a week, his parting words carving scars in her memory. You're broken. I can't fix you. That night, December 23rd, she drove to the mountain pass, determined to end the pain permanently. Someone had pulled her from the car seconds before it plunged over the cliff. A stranger's coat wrapped around her shoulders, a note tucked into a pocket. Your life matters. Don't waste it. She never saw his face, never learned his name, but she had kept the coat, the note, kept breathing despite herself. Tonight's blind date had been her 48th attempt to rejoin the living. A coworker insisting his name is Smith Bennett. Widower, 2 daughters. Works construction, nice guy. Just give it a chance. Rosie had nearly canceled. A stranger whose face she'd never seen. Now, a shepherd before her, eyes holding impossible intelligence, patient, knowing, as if he had waited for this exact moment, this exact woman, this exact decision. Rosie's hand touched the note again. Crayon drawings decorated the margins. Stick figures labeled Daddy, Lily, Rose, and a large dog marked Roy. Beneath the apology, 2 sentences arrested her breath. Roy knows the way. He's very smart. Please trust him. The dog stood, walked to the cafe door, and looked back. Choose, his amber eyes insisted. Choose now. Choose life. The morning had begun with a phone call Rosie wished she could unhear. The bank manager's voice, flat and bureaucratic. Miss Harrison, without payment within 30 days, we will proceed with foreclosure. She had hung up, staring at an injured fox sleeping in her clinic, wondering if saving animals mattered when she had nowhere to save them. At 10, an emergency call had pulled her from despair. A fox caught in an illegal trap, leg mangled. 3 hours of steady hands had saved the limb, her focus unwavering even as her world crumbled around her. By 2, she had nearly forgotten the blind date nearly canceled, but something, stubbornness or the ghost of her father's voice, made her drive into town anyway. At 4, while digging through her closet for something suitable to wear, she found her father's old jacket, the one left by the stranger 5 years ago. The note remained. Your life matters. Don't waste it. Collapsing on the bedroom floor, she sobbed for reasons she could not articulate. Tonight suddenly felt impossibly important, a test she could not afford to fail. Across town, Smith Bennett's morning had derailed before it began. The babysitter, Mrs. Dawson, called at 6. Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry, but I can't watch the girls tonight. Storm warnings, she claimed, though Smith suspected the truth lay in months of unpaid wages he could not afford. With his late wife's medical bills consuming everything, life insurance and savings gone, dignity stretched thin, Smith's conscience guided him elsewhere. At the construction site, his boss, Jessica Thornton, pulled him aside. Urgent scaffolding issues. Hours investigating exaggerated claims left his phone dead mid-call. No charger, no apology. And when an actual crisis struck at 5, 3 workers trapped in collapsing scaffolding, he stayed. Lives mattered more than dates, more than second chances at happiness. But his 7-year-old twins had other plans. Lily and Rose Bennett sat in their kitchen, facing an empty house after the babysitter departed. Rose, sensitive, cried, Daddy's date will leave before he gets here. Lily, the planner, grabbed paper and crayons. Then we'll make sure she doesn't. Carefully, they crafted a note, a plea from 2 children desperate for their father's happiness, tying it to Roy's collar with red ribbon from their mother's old craft supplies. Lily knelt beside the massive German shepherd, looking into eyes far too knowing for an animal. Roy licked their faces in reassurance. then disappeared into the white darkness. Rosie arrived at Pinewood Cafe at 6, positioned by the window, watching snow bury the street. Around her, diners chatted about Christmas plans. By 6:15, she had checked her phone 17 times. No messages, no missed calls. Pride and experience warned that men who wanted to show up showed up. At 6:30, she considered deleting her dating profile permanently. Smith's bio caught her one last time. Widow dad of twins. Rusty at this. Be patient. Her heart fractured for him. And for herself simultaneously. He wasn't coming. Nobody ever stayed. She paid her bill, reached for her coat, and prepared to add another failure to her collection. Then the door burst open. The German shepherd entered like a creature from myth. Purposeful, intelligent, impossibly focused. Red collar against snow-covered black fur. The cafe fell silent as he walked directly to her table, sat with the gravity of a judge delivering a verdict. Trembling, Rosie read the note tied to his collar. Dear Miss Rosie, Daddy is very, very sorry he is late. There is a big problem at the hospital. Please don't leave. Love, Lily and Rose and Roy. The dog's amber eyes held hers, waiting, knowing, offering a choice bigger than one evening, bigger than a date. Trust me, those eyes said. Choose us. Rosie stared until the crayon letters blurred. Around her, the cafe buzzed, but the voices sounded distant, underwater. Her father's words echoed. When life gives you a sign, don't wait for a second one. Roy stood and walked toward the door with the certainty of a creature on a mission. He stopped, looked back. Intelligence glimmered in his amber eyes, unnerving, almost human in its clarity. An elderly woman at the next table whispered, "Go with the dog, dear. That's fate knocking." Rosie pushed back from the table, legs unsteady. "If I don't come back," she joked weakly, "tell them I went with the dog." The waitress grinned. "Best decision, or the craziest of your life." Hot chocolate and pastries in hand, she followed Roy into the snow. The temperature plummeted to 18 below zero. Her car refused to start, battery dead. She slammed the steering wheel, breath clouding white in frozen air. Roy waited. Not quickly, but with absolute certainty. He led her toward the construction lights visible through the storm 1.5 miles away. Rational thought screamed insanity. Follow a dog into a blizzard to meet a man she'd never seen. Trust a note from children she'd never met? 5 years of rational safety versus one leap of faith. Your dad better be worth this, she said. The dog glanced back. Trust me. Keep walking. Through white darkness she followed. Slipping twice on ice, Roy stopped and waited patiently. Visibility fell to mere feet. Without him, she would have been lost in minutes. She talked to fill the silence. "You know, Roy, I usually tranquilize large animals before following them into the wilderness." He twitched his ears. "But I suppose you've already tranquilized me with those eyes and that note." Construction lights blazed ahead. Sodium orange against the snowstorm. Voices and machinery drifted. Roy accelerated. Nearly home, an imposing security guard waved them through without question. "Hey boy, boss will be glad you're back safe." Before Rosie could speak, a woman emerged from a trailer, sharp-featured, expensive coat. "Can I help you?" "Restricted area." Rosie lifted her chin. "I'm looking for Smith Bennett." The woman's eyes hardened. "Smith is busy indefinitely." "His daughter sent me." Roy growled low. First aggression Rosie had witnessed. The woman stepped back, unsettled. "I'm not leaving until I see him," Rosie said quietly. "Suit yourself." The woman replied, disappearing into the trailer. Roy led her to the scaffolding. High above, Smith coordinated rescue calmly. Blood and dust marked his hands. Every movement carried responsibility. When he saw her, frozen, hard hat slipping, he walked slowly, disbelief and awe etched in his face. "You came," he said, voice raw. "Oh God, Lily and Rose, they're home alone, aren't they?" Rosie's stomach dropped like a stone into icy water. 2 children. An empty house, a brutal winter storm pressing down outside like a living thing. The realization hit her simultaneously with Smith's own dread. "Mrs. Dawson was supposed to be there," Smith started, voice tight. But Rosie interrupted, firm. "We need to go, now." A shout came from above. "Boss, we got it handled." "Get out of here!" Smith's eyes reflected the war between duty and family, a battle etched deep into every line of his face. Rosie made the choice for both of them. "Give me your address." "I'll go. You don't even know me," he said. "I know you have 2 little girls who are cold and scared." "That's enough." He pressed the truck keys into her hand, along with a hastily scribbled address. 15 minutes under clear skies. 25 in this storm. The spare keys were hidden under the ceramic frog by the front steps. Rosie didn't pause. Roy leapt into the passenger seat beside her. Through the rearview mirror, she caught sight of Smith standing in the construction lights, a man caught between catastrophes, trusting a stranger. Her with his most precious treasures. The drive through the blizzard was a white hell. 12 minutes on GPS. But the truck struggled to climb above 25 miles per hour. Black ice sent it fishtailing twice. Her knuckles whitened on the steering wheel, heart hammering against ribs. Images flashed through her mind. Two small girls, huddled in darkness, hypothermic, terrified, believing their father had abandoned them as death had abandoned them once. Roy whined from the passenger seat, anxious or perhaps sensing his own urgency. His eyes never left the windshield, as if willing the house to appear faster. 7 minutes in, headlights cut across the storm. A sedan swerved directly in front of her. Rosie slammed the brakes. The truck skidded sideways before halting. Jessica Thornton emerged, coat dusted with snow, face taut with something between grief and rage. Rosie rolled down her window, fury replacing fear. "What the hell are you doing?" Jessica's voice was tight. "Those girls don't need another woman confusing them. They need someone who cares. I am someone who cares." Rosie shot back, voice fierce. "You don't know what Smith's been through." Jessica's composure faltered. "Sarah was my best friend, and I can't watch him replace her like she never mattered." "I'm not replacing anyone," Rosie said softly but firmly. "I'm just here right now. Can that be enough?" Jessica stepped back, a fraction of understanding creeping into her posture. "He's broken. They're all broken. So am I," Rosie whispered. "Maybe that's the point." Jessica returned to her car silently, leaving Rosie to continue through the storm. Smith's house appeared like a lighthouse through the white blur, dark except for the flickering candlelight in one window. Rosie's stomach twisted. She ran to the front door, fumbling for the ceramic frog, and retrieved the key. The lock was frozen. She pounded, calling out, "Lily!" "Rose, it's Miss Rosie." Silence. Roy barked urgently and circled the house. Rosie's veterinary instinct screamed that something was wrong. The basement window was cracked open, frost curling around its edges. A faint crying reached her ears, forcing the window wider. She squeezed through, landing in pitch darkness. Her phone flashlight illuminated a basement colder than the storm outside. In the corner, huddled under every blanket they could find, two small girls clung to each other. The heating system had failed completely. "I'm here," Rosie said gently, rushing forward. "Roy brought me. You're safe now." The bolder of the two, Lily, with lips blue from cold, looked up. "You came? You really came?" Rose, smaller and trembling harder, sobbed. "We thought Daddy forgot us. Like Mommy forgot us." The words shattered something deep in Rosie's chest. She wrapped both girls in her coat, still warm from the truck. "Your mommy didn't forget you, and your daddy never would. Never." She carried them upstairs, surprised at their lightness, their fragility. In the living room, she lit the fireplace using skills taught by her father decades ago. Small kindling first, then larger logs. Patience. Within minutes, the flames crackled to life. Hot chocolate in hand, blankets wrapped around the girls. Roy stretched between them, a living barrier against the cold. Rosie checked their fingers and toes for frostbite, her veterinary knowledge translating seamlessly to human children. "Are you an angel?" Lily whispered, teeth chattering. "Mommy said she'd send one." Rosie's vision blurred with tears. "No, sweetheart, just someone who knows what it's like to be cold and alone." Rose pressed against her side. "Will you stay? Please don't leave us." "I'll stay as long as you need me," Rosie promised, meaning every word. As warmth returned, the girls opened up. Rose showed a decorated box filled with letters to Mommy, written nightly. Lily explained she couldn't read them in heaven, but it didn't matter. Each letter was a testament to innocence, describing school days, lost teeth, and fears of their father's sadness. Lily produced a photo album. "This is Mommy." Sarah Bennett smiled from every page, blonde, beautiful, vibrant. Rosie felt a pang of inadequacy, staring at memories she could never compete with. "Daddy said Mommy would want him to be happy again," Rose offered quietly, watching Rosie's face. "Roy likes you," Lily added. "Roy never likes anyone new." Rosie realized with a chill that she had been evaluated, tested, and somehow passed. The front door burst open. Smith, snow-covered and wide-eyed, appeared. Seeing the scene, Rosie by the fire, his daughters wrapped in blankets, Roy content, he dropped to his knees. Thank God you're okay." Lily and Rose ran into his arms. Rosie stepped back, feeling like an intruder in this fragile reunion. Yet Smith looked at her over the girls' heads, gratitude written across his face. "You saved them," he said. "Roy saved everyone," Rosie corrected gently. "I just followed directions." Later, after the girls were settled with soup and a movie, Smith pulled Rosie into the kitchen. Hands shaking, he admitted, "I am so sorry about tonight, about everything." Rosie leaned against the counter. "Tell me what happened." He explained the construction crisis, the dead phone, the impossible choice between duty and desire. Then he added quietly, "Part of me was relieved when it happened, because I was terrified." Rosie listened, heart swelling, knowing this story was larger than a blind date. They shared their pasts, their losses, their survival. Rosie recounted the stranger who had saved her life 5 years ago. The coat, the note, "Your life matters," Smith spoke softly. "Or maybe angels put strangers in our path. They created dinner together. Simple pasta, laughter filling the house, a family emerging from brokenness. Rose sang slightly off-key Christmas songs. Lily performed YouTube magic tricks. Rosie clapped, charmed despite herself. By bedtime, stories were read, girls asleep, fire dying to embers. Roy slept between them. Outside, snow fell softer now, the night suspended between past grief and present hope. After a long silence, Smith asked, "Can I ask you something?" "After tonight, I think we're past formalities," Rosie replied. "Why did you come?" "Really?" Rosie considered. That note, Roy's eyes, a second chance. Smith's face softened. "Why wouldn't you deserve that? My ex said I was broken, and I believed him for 5 years." "You're not broken," Smith said fiercely. "You're here. You saved my daughters when I couldn't. That's basic human decency." "No," Rosie whispered. "It's extraordinary. You are extraordinary." The space between them charged with electricity, faces close enough for Rosie to count his eyelashes. Then Roy stood abruptly and barked. They laughed, nervous, relieved. A knock at 10:30. Jessica stood at the door, disheveled, tears streaking her face. She needed to tell them the truth about Sarah. Rosie braced for the storm to continue. Jessica's confession came in fragments, jagged and raw, each word seeming to cost her a piece of herself. 3 years ago, her fiancé had left her at the altar, not quietly, not privately, but in front of 200 witnesses. A note pinned to the door. "I can't marry someone I don't love." Brief, brutal. She spiraled, and the darkness that followed had its own gravity. December 20th. She had drunk an entire bottle of vodka, trembling, and called Sarah Bennett her best friend since college. "I can't do this anymore. I'm going to end it tonight." She slurred, words heavy and broken. Meanwhile, Sarah and Smith had been sharing a quiet dinner, twins laughing, innocence filling the room. But Sarah's instinct had been urgent, unyielding. "We can't let her die. We just can't." They left the girls with a neighbor and drove through worsening storm conditions. They found Jessica unconscious, dangerously close to death, and saved her. On the drive back, Smith's hands gripping the wheel, black ice lurking like a predator, Sarah had touched his hand lightly, serene. "I'm glad we went. Some things matter more than safety." Then a flash of white, the car spun on the ice. Sarah was gone. Smith survived. The guilt, immediate and relentless, became Jessica's shadow. "Every morning for 3 years, I wake up thinking, I'm alive because Sarah died. I didn't deserve to be saved." "She did." Smith sat frozen, color draining from his face. Rosie's hand gripped the back of the couch. Jessica's eyes locked on Smith, haunted. "And when I saw you trying to move forward, trying to be happy, I couldn't handle it. If you're happy, Sarah's death meant nothing. She died for me, and I'm not worth it." Her sacrifice was pointless. The confession darkened. Months of sabotage, small and deliberate. Deadlines designed to keep Smith trapped at work. A contractor paid to turn minor issues into emergencies. A babysitter bribed to abandon the girls. The night's scaffolding crisis. Not entirely accidental. Smith rose, fury finally breaking through shock. "You endangered my daughters. Do you realize that?" Jessica's voice wavered, barely audible. "I know, I hate myself for it. I wasn't thinking. You weren't thinking at all. You were so wrapped in your own guilt that you almost destroyed the only things I have left of Sarah," Smith shouted, raw with betrayal. Rosie stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chaos, calm but unyielding. "Stop, both of you, stop." The 2 women and 1 man paused, suspended in grief. Rosie knelt in front of Jessica. "Sarah didn't die for nothing. She died because she chose love over fear. Do you understand? She chose to save you. Honor that by living." Jessica's eyes burned. "How can I live when she can't?" "By not wasting the life she sacrificed for," Rosie said, fierce and steady. "By choosing to be better, instead of destroying everyone around you." "Who are you to tell me anything?" "Someone who also tried to die," Rosie whispered. "Someone who was saved. Someone who almost wasted that gift hiding for 5 years." The room was silent, punctuated by the fire's crackle. Roy, still until now, suddenly pawed at Rosie's purse. She opened it, confused, and Roy retrieved her father's old jacket, tucking it deliberately at Smith's feet. Smith picked it up. A faded name tag inside R. Emerson, color drained from his face. "Where did you get this?" "It was my father's, Robert Emerson. He died 10 years ago," Rosie said softly. Smith's voice trembled. "I recognize this jacket. December 23rd, 5 years ago, I left it with someone." The room tilted. Rosie gripped the couch. "I was driving home late," Smith continued, voice rushing, piecing together memory. "Mountain Pass, I saw a car swerving. It went straight for the cliff. I ran, pulled her out seconds before it went over." Her eyes locked on mine. "Unconscious, pyothermic. I gave her my jacket, wrote a note, 'Your life matters. Don't waste it.' Stayed until the ambulance came, then left before anyone could see me." Rosie couldn't breathe. The room spun. That woman was her. 5 years of coincidence, impossibility, fate. Roy sat between them, tail wagging once in approval. "Daddy," a small voice whispered. Lily and Rose appeared, pajamas rumpled, eyes wide. They hadn't slept, had overheard everything. Rose spoke with quiet certainty. Mommy said to give this to you when the right person came. Smith took the envelope, trembling, Sarah's handwriting on the front. Open when Roy brings someone home. Inside, letters spilling her love, her guidance, her truth. Smith read aloud, voice breaking. My dearest Smith, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Roy has fulfilled his mission. I need you to understand. I knew I was dying before the accident. I hid it because I wanted our last months to be happy, unburdened. The night I died wasn't entirely an accident. I chose to save a life, even if it meant mine would end. Roy isn't just a dog. He belonged to Robert Emerson. I renamed him. I knew he would guide you to someone you've already saved. Silence fell, thick and complete. Smith's hands trembled, pages rustling. Rosie stood frozen, tears streaming. Roy, ever vigilant, moved between them, settling at Smith's feet. Peace at last, Jessica whispered, voice broken. She knew she was dying. And she still saved me. I've spent 3 years punishing everyone for it. I should leave. Turn myself in for what I did tonight. No, Rosie said firmly. You need help, real help, and you will get it. Again and again until it works, Rose descended the stairs. Miss Jessica, are you the reason Mommy died? Jessica's face crumpled. Yes, sweetheart. I am. The girls, small and fierce, wrapped her in their arms. Mommy wouldn't want you sad forever. She'd want you happy, like she wants Daddy to be happy. Rosie and Smith watched this moment of fragile catharsis, wounds breaking open so healing could begin. Roy had orchestrated it all, moving between people like a benediction. The dog who had been her father's, Sarah's, and now, somehow, everyone's guardian. Rosie realized, as the last echoes of the night settled, that fate, love, and loss had aligned perfectly. Smith had saved her life. Sarah had adopted her father's dog. Roy had delivered them into this improbable reunion. The universe had conspired, but reality crashed in. Rosie's chest tightened. Panic surged. Memories of therapy, miscarriage, loss, all tangled in her mind. The girls didn't need a broken substitute. Smith didn't need her to be Sarah, and she couldn't give them more children. She moved toward the door instinctively. Rosie, wait, Smith called. Where are you going? Home, roads are bad. I need to go, she said, voice cracking. You and your daughters, they're perfect. But I'm not. I can't be her. I can't give more children. I'm broken. Smith's face softened, confusion and hurt interlacing with understanding. You think this is all a cosmic setup, Rosie continued, tears flowing. Saved me 5 years ago. Roy brought us together. All too neat. We're following orders from a ghost, not choosing each other. It's not fair. Smith's expression hardened. You think I don't know she's gone? Smith's voice cut through the room like glass. Think I haven't spent 3 years trying to accept that? But you haven't. You're still living in her shadow. Every word hit Rosie like a blade. She knew she'd crossed a line, but she couldn't stop. His words were desperate, poisoned, sharp. Every photograph, every carefully preserved memory on these walls. You're not ready to move on. You're just trying to complete Sarah's final project. Get out, Rosie froze. What? If that's what you think of me, then get out. I won't force you to stay where you're not wanted. The finality in his voice was a physical blow. Rosie's hands shook as she grabbed her coat and belongings, moving toward the door. Roy, sensing her departure, tried to follow, but Smith held his collar. No, boy, let her go. She glanced back once. Smith stood in the doorway, tears glistening in the warm glow of the home she was leaving behind. Then she climbed into the borrowed truck and drove away. The storm had eased, but the roads remained treacherous, slick with ice. Rosie cried so violently she could barely see, tears smearing the world into streaks of light and shadow. She pulled over, engine idling, and fell apart completely, screaming into the empty cab, pounding the steering wheel until her hands ached. 5 years of grief erupted all at once. The miscarriage, her father's death, the suicide attempt, the isolation she'd wrapped around herself like armor. She had to push Smith away before he could push her. Classic self-sabotage. Inside the house, Smith returned to find Lily and Rose sitting quietly on the stairs. I heard everything, Rose whispered. Daddy, why did Miss Rosie leave? Smith sank beside them, holding both girls close. Because I wasn't enough, he said softly. That's not true, Lily insisted. She's scared. Scared of what? Smith asked. Of being happy? Like you were, Rose said, voice small but clear. Roy scratched at the door, whining insistently. Smith couldn't look at him. She made her choice, Roy, but the dog wouldn't stop. Desperation echoed in his box. Rose touched Smith's arm. Roy knows something. Not tonight, buddy. I can't. Smith carried his daughters upstairs, tucked them in. But sleep was impossible. Rosie drove without direction, drawn by memory and instinct to the mountain pass, the place where she had almost died 5 years ago, where Smith had saved her life. She parked at the overlook and stepped to the edge where her car had nearly gone over. Memorial crosses marked other accidents, but nothing for her, because she had survived. The wind whipped around her, biting through layers, yet her mind was inside the memory. The despair of that night, the certainty that that life wasn't worth living. And then Smith's voice, cutting through like a lifeline. Hold on, I've got you. The note he'd left 5 years ago flashed in her mind. Your life matters. Don't waste it. She had been wasting it, hiding, pushing away love before it became real. I'm sorry, Dad, she whispered into the wind. I'm sorry I wasted the time you gave me. And I'm sorry, Sarah, she added, looking to the sky. I'm not trying to replace you. I'm just trying to live. Her phone vibrated. 14 missed calls from Smith. A single text. Please come back. Not for me, but because you deserve to choose this. Really choose it. Hands shaking, she typed. I'm at the pass where you saved me, where this all started. I need to know, did you choose to save me that night or out of obligation? His response was instant. I chose. I always choose life. Now please choose it too. Rosie looked at the edge one final time. Then she turned toward the truck, but when she tried to start it, nothing. Dead battery. Stranded on the mountain at 2:30 a.m., freezing, she understood the cruel truth. She'd spent 5 years surviving, but had never truly chosen to live. Until now, until it might be too late. Inside the house, Roy barked with urgency, pulling Smith from sleepless grief. He had been lying in darkness, replaying every word of the argument, every painful truth. The dog's insistent cries drew him outside into the cold. Roy raced to the truck, leaping into the passenger seat as if saying, "Drive now." Smith called Rosie's phone. Silence. Then he tracked her via Find My iPhone. The pin dropped onto the mountain pass. No, 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 he muttered. He sped through icy curves, heart pounding, breath caught. The place where he had saved her once, where she had almost died. Again, terror gripped him, but clarity came with it. He loved her, not because of Sarah's plan, but because of who Rosie was. Brave enough to follow a dog into a storm, broken enough to understand, real enough to hold him accountable. The truck fishtailed around a curve. Roy braced, eyes fixed. Smith found her, sitting shivering, nearly unconscious. Engine cold. Rosie, can you hear me? Her eyes focused slowly. You came? Of course I came, he said, wrapping her in blankets from his emergency kit. I'll always come for you. I'm sorry. I ruined everything. She whispered. You didn't ruin anything. You're scared. I get it. You deserve better than someone who runs, he said fiercely. I deserve someone real, she said, and you're the most real person I've met in years. What about Sarah? She asked. She loved me, Smith said. Slow and steady, and because she loved me, she wanted me to love again. That's not obligation, that's a gift. By 4 a.m., Rosie was stable enough to drive to the hospital. The ER admitted her for mild hypothermia. Smith refused to leave her side. He called the neighbor to bring Lily and Rose. The girls burst in, still in pajamas. Miss Rosie! Tears filled her eyes. I'm so sorry I left you. Rose climbed onto the bed. We thought you weren't coming back, like Mommy. I was scared, Rosie said, voice breaking. But that's no excuse. Should never have left you. Lily took her hand. Are you still scared? Terrified. Of what? Of not being enough. Of being broken, Rosie admitted. Mommy was broken too after she got sick, Rose added softly. But Daddy loved her anyway. And we loved her anyway. Love isn't about being perfect, it's about being there. Rosie broke down completely. Smith wrapped his arms around all three of them. They cried together. For Sarah. For lost possibilities. For second chances that felt impossible and necessary all at once. When she could speak, Rosie asked, What happens now? That's up to you, Smith said. No pressure, no destiny. Just choice. Rosie looked at the three faces before her. Two small girls who had already lost one mother, one man who had already buried one wife, and understood the weight of their trust. I choose to stay, not because Sarah planned it, but because I want to. What if it's hard? Lily asked. Then it's hard, Rosie said softly. But I'm done running. Does this mean you'll come to Christmas with us? Lily's eyes sparkled. Rosie realized it was Christmas Eve. Yes, she said. Back at Smith's house hours later, exhausted, they gathered around the tree. The girls had gifts. Drawings, crafts, a clay figurine of Roy. Smith handed Rosie a box, trembling. It's from Sarah, he said. Inside, a photo album. The first page, her father, Robert Emerson, holding a German Shepherd puppy. Sarah's handwriting. This is where it started. The next pages, Sarah training the dog for search and rescue. Pages documenting chemotherapy. Roy at her side. A photograph of Smith rescuing a woman on the mountain pass. Rosie, of course. Sarah's caption, I knew it would be you. The final page held a letter to Rosie. Dear Rosie, I don't know your name yet, but I will. Roy brought you to my family. I chose to trust love. Love continues even after we're gone. I'm not asking you to replace me. I'm asking you to continue what we started. Be brave. Be real. Be present. Fight for them. Love them. And thank you for showing up. Rosie clutched the album. Sobbing, Roy placed a paw on her lap. She finally understood. This dog, her father's companion, then Sarah's guardian, had orchestrated an impossible reunion across time, death, and grief. I promise, she whispered. I promise to take care of all of them. Lily added. And we'll take care of you, Rose said. Smith handed her a silver bracelet engraved with words she already knew. Life matters. Choose it daily. Rosie slid it on, hands trembling. I choose this every day. I choose all of you. Roy wagged his tail once, satisfied. Complete. 6 months passed. Rosie moved into a small apartment near Smith, maintaining independence while building something unnamed but real. Most evenings, she laughed at his table, teaching the girls about wildlife rehabilitation, weekends, mountain cabins, snow, animal tracks, bird songs. The veterinary clinic reopened in March, funded anonymously. Later, Rosie learned it had been Jessica, quietly making amends. Rosie specialized in therapy animals. Inspired by Roy's gift, Smith and Rosie dated intentionally, patiently. Their first kiss, 3 months in, spring air carrying the scent of melting snow, girls asleep inside, was a choice, deliberate, sacred. The twins flourished. Rose stopped writing letters to heaven. She wrote stories instead, one winning a school contest. Lily started a school newspaper with a story titled, How My Dog Saved My Dad. Both girls called her Rosie, not Mom, her choice. And Rosie finally chose to live. Rosie wasn't replacing anyone, but one afternoon Rose slipped and called her Mama Rosie, then burst into tears. Rosie held her close, whispering, It's okay to love two mothers. Hearts don't have limits. Jessica completed 90 days of inpatient treatment. She emerged sober, humbled, determined to rebuild her life in a town where her mistakes didn't follow her like shadows. She sent monthly letters to Smith, apologies and updates on her progress. She donated $50,000 anonymously to Rosie's clinic, a gesture Smith eventually discovered. In April, Jessica launched a nonprofit called Sarah's Light, focused on suicide prevention. Its first fundraiser featured Roy as guest of honor. Once a month, Rosie and Jessica met for coffee. The meetings were awkward at first, heavy with history and unspoken pain, but gradually they became something else. Two women learning to forgive themselves by forgiving each other. You're doing what I couldn't, Jessica said in June. No, Rosie corrected gently. I'm living for me. That's what she wanted. Smith transformed his life with methodical precision, as if constructing a future with the same care he applied to buildings. He took a teaching role at the community college in structural engineering. The pay was smaller, but the hours allowed him to be present for his daughters. He built an addition to the house, a room he called Rosie's space, though she didn't live there yet. Therapy became weekly, a steady excavation of survivors' guilt that had calcified over 3 years. He began a journal addressed to Sarah, updating her on their lives. His last entry read, I think you'd really like her. Actually, I know you would because you sent her to us. Thank you for loving me enough to plan for my future. I'll spend the rest of my life being worthy of that gift. December 20th arrived, heavy with memory. Smith took the girls to the cemetery, a ritual marking 3 years since Sarah's death. This year, Rosie asked to join. Are you sure? Smith asked. Voice careful. This is heavy, she said softly. I want to meet her properly. At the gravestone, simple marble engraved Sarah Bennett, beloved wife, mother, friend. Rosie knelt alone. I don't know if you can hear me, but thank you. For trusting me with them. For trusting Roy to find me. For choosing love even when you knew you were leaving. I promise I'm not trying to erase you. I'm trying to honor you by loving them as you would have. I promise to tell them about you always. You're part of this story, the most important part. The wind stirred the bare trees, snow catching in her hair. Acceptance, permission, or perhaps simply peace brushed across her shoulders. Smith placed his hand on the gravestone. Sarah, I need to tell you something. I love Rosie. I really love her. And I'm going to ask her to marry me. That's not betrayal. It's honoring what you taught me. Love continues. Thank you for 3 years. Thank you for our girls. Thank you for the plan you left behind. I'll never forget you, but I'm ready to build something new. Lily placed her hand over his. Mommy says it's okay. How do you know, sweetheart? Rose smiled. Because she sent Roy. And Roy chose Miss Rosie. That means Mommy chose her too. As they walked back, Roy dug in the snow near a tree, uncovering a small wooden box sealed in plastic. Inside was another letter from Sarah, dated December 19th, the day before she died. The note read, to be opened on my 3rd anniversary. If you're reading this with someone new, I'm so happy for you. The letter was brief. Smith, you have my blessing. You've always had it. Live fully. Love completely. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. All my love, S. Smith broke down. Rosie held him. The girls held both of them. Roy sat peacefully. Mission fulfilled. 3 days later, December 23rd, Smith recreated their first date. Same cafe, same table, same time. Rosie arrived to find a single rose with a note. This time I'm on time and never leaving. Will you marry me? She turned. Smith knelt. Ring box open. Rosie Harrison. 1 year ago you sat here about to give up on love. My daughters sent a dog to find you. You could have left. You did run, but you came back. When it was hard, when you were scared, that's when I knew. You were here because you chose to be, and I choose you too. Not because Sarah wanted this, but because I want this. Forever. Will you marry me? Rosie laughed through tears. You really know how to make a girl wait. I learned from the best, he said. Yes, I'll marry you, but I need you to know I can't give you more children. That doesn't matter. Smith interrupted. We have our girls, we have Roy, we have each other. That's a family. The ring was simple gold with 3 small stones. Rosie, Lily, Rose. The cafe erupted in applause. Lily and Rose appeared from the back room. We helped Daddy pick the ring. You were in on this? Rosie asked. Rose grinned. We've been planning forever. Lily showed a photo of the twins at Sarah's grave holding a sign. Can Miss Rosie be our new mommy? Please say yes. Roy wagged his tail. That was a yes. 6 months later, June 23rd. They married in Smith's backyard. 50 guests witnessed vows under the oak tree, Roy lying contentedly in the grass. Jessica attended. 6 months sober, tears of joy streaming. An empty chair held Sarah's photograph and white roses. Rosie's vows promised, I'll love them the way you would have. Smith's vows thanked Robert Emerson for raising a woman brave enough to try again. The girls read a poem, Our Family Tree. Sarah's name included, always a part of them. The reception was simple, joyful. First dance. Ho Hey by the Loomers. Smith danced with both daughters. Rosie cut in, taking each girl's hand. Jessica toasted, leaving no dry eyes. Sarah taught me love isn't about deserving it. It's about choosing it. They walked down the aisle together. Roy leading, petals raining. 5 years later, the family had grown. Rosie and Smith adopted 2 siblings. Marcus 7 and Sophie 5. Lily and Rose were 12. Roy, now 10, slower but wise, still guided their lives. The clinic became Sarah's sanctuary, a non-profit for therapy animal rehabilitation. Roy's puppy, Max Robert Bennett, worked as a therapy dog at the Children's Hospital. Rose published a best-selling children's book, The Dog Who Saved Christmas. Lily pursued engineering. Marcus shadowed Rosie as a veterinarian. Sophie talked to Aunt Sarah in photographs. Rosie taught the children that love doesn't end with death. On Christmas Eve, 5 years after that first miraculous night, the family gathered around the fire. Rosie showed Marcus and Sophie Sarah's photo album. This is how families are made, she said, with love, choice, and a very good dog. Smith wrapped his arms around her. Any regrets? She asked. Only that I didn't trust it sooner. But you did. That's what matters. Rosie knelt beside Roy, hand on his graying muzzle. Thank you, boy, for everything. Roy licked her hand once. Amber eyes bright. Mission complete. Love multiplied. The camera would pull back if this were a movie. A full house, full hearts, a life rebuilt from broken pieces. A family not born, but chosen. Not perfect, but real. Somewhere Rosie believed, Sarah Bennett smiled. This story reminds us, it's never too late to choose happiness. Second chances are real. Courage to try again. To open our hearts after loss. To believe we're worthy despite our scars. That's what makes us truly alive.